For years, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been one of the most talked about couples on the planet. Loved by some, criticized by others, but never ignored. And now, according to swirling reports and intense speculation, something so shocking may have happened behind closed doors that Harry is allegedly ready to cut all ties. Is this the moment everything changes? Or is this another chapter in the most dramatic royal saga of our time? Let's unpack what people are saying, why this story has ignited global curiosity, and, most importantly, what it reveals about love, pressure, and life under a microscope. Stick with me, because the deeper we go, the more complicated this story becomes. Why this headline hit like a thunderclap? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Royal news doesn't usually whisper. It booms. But even by royal standards, this headline landed differently. Why? Because Prince Harry has always been framed as the man who would never walk away. He crossed oceans, challenged institutions, and famously said he was willing to give up everything for love. So when rumors suggest he might now be the one calling lawyers, it jolts people awake. Here's what made the internet pause mid-scroll. Harry has publicly defended Meghan again and again. He has framed their bond as unbreakable. He has described their journey as a fight together. So when a story hints at a shocking discovery, people naturally ask, backhand index pointing right, what could possibly be big enough to crack that foundation? The curiosity isn't just gossip-driven. It's emotional. People have invested years watching this relationship unfold like a high-stakes drama, one filled with fairy tale beginnings, public battles, and deeply personal revelations. And that's where the intrigue truly begins. Because the louder the silence from official sources, the wilder the theories grow. The pressure cooker called public life. Before we jump to conclusions, let's take a breath and zoom out. Imagine your relationship being debated by talk shows, social media threads, tabloids in multiple countries, strangers who've never met you. Now imagine every argument, every tired look, every awkward pause being interpreted as proof of something bigger. That has been Harry and Meghan's reality. Psychologists often talk about pressure fatigue, the slow emotional erosion that happens when stress never lets up. And few couples on earth have lived under the kind of relentless spotlight the Sussexes have endured. Even strong relationships can crack under constant judgment, conflicting narratives, financial and legal stress, family estrangement. So when headlines claim a breaking point may have been reached, it forces a tough but relatable question. How much pressure can love really survive? And here's the twist. What if this shocking discovery isn't a single dramatic moment, but the realization that the cost has simply become too high? Hold on to that thought, because it changes how we read everything that follows. The shocking discovery, fact, theory, or emotional wake-up call. Let's be clear and responsible here. No verified public statement confirms the exact nature of any so-called discovery. But that hasn't stopped speculation from spreading like wildfire. Some suggest it could be a financial realization, a legal complication, a difference in long-term vision, or even emotional burnout finally boiling over. Here's the uncomfortable truth many couples face, but rarely admit. Sometimes the shock isn't what you discover. It's what you finally accept. Accept that. You're exhausted. You've changed. The fight no longer feels mutual. If Harry truly reached out to legal counsel, as some claim, it may not signal anger. It may signal clarity. And clarity, while painful, can be powerful. But clarity also brings fear. Because once you see things clearly, you can't unsee them. And that leads us to the most human part of this story. When love meets identity crisis. Prince Harry's journey hasn't just been about marriage. It's been about identity. Ask yourself, who am I without my family role? Who am I without public approval? Who am I if this relationship changes? Those are heavy questions for anyone, let alone someone raised inside one of the world's most rigid institutions. Many relationship experts note that couples formed during times of upheaval can struggle once the fight mode ends. When survival becomes stability, unresolved differences surface. Could this moment be less about blame and more about self-reckoning? If so, it reframes the narrative entirely, and it makes the next question unavoidable. Why cutting all ties sounds so final. One phrase in the headline has stirred particular emotion: cutting all ties. That sounds cold, final, almost brutal. But in legal and emotional terms, cutting ties doesn't always mean hatred. Sometimes it means creating boundaries, protecting mental health, ending cycles that feel destructive. Think about your own life for a second. Haven't you ever had to step back from something you once defended fiercely? Exactly. If Harry is seeking distance, it may reflect a desire for peace, not punishment. And that possibility makes this story less scandalous and more tragically human. But if that's the case, why does the public reaction feel so explosive? The internet reacts, and why it always picks sides. Within minutes of the headline trending, the camps formed. Team Harry, Team Meghan, Team, I knew this would happen. Social media thrives on extremes. But real life? It lives in the gray. What's fascinating is how this story has become a mirror. Some see betrayal, some see liberation, some see heartbreak. Rarely do we pause and ask, what if both people are hurting? That question doesn't trend, but it matters. And it leads us to something bigger than royal drama. The relatable lesson hidden in the noise. Strip away the titles, the headlines, the palace gates. What remains is a lesson many people quietly need. Love alone isn't always enough if growth happens in different directions. That doesn't mean failure. It means reality. Actionable takeaways for real life. Check in with your partner beyond the crisis moments. Ask hard questions before resentment builds. Protect your identity within love, not just for love. Sometimes the bravest act isn't staying. It's being honest about what staying costs. And honesty, as uncomfortable as it is, can save futures, even if it ends relationships. So where does this leave the Sussex story? Right at the edge of something unresolved. What happens next, and why everyone's watching? Will there be an official statement, a public denial, or continued silence that speaks louder than words? Nobody knows. And that uncertainty is exactly why this story won't fade anytime soon. But maybe the real takeaway isn't about divorce lawyers or discoveries. Maybe it's this. Even fairy tales written in modern ink are still subject to human limits. And that realization? That's the part that truly shakes people. Conclusion, the question that lingers. Whether this headline proves to be fully accurate, partially true, or emotionally symbolic, one thing is undeniable. It has forced millions to reflect, not just on a royal marriage, but on their own. So I'll leave you with this. Backhand index pointing right if the world were watching your relationship. Backhand index pointing right if every mistake was magnified. Backhand index pointing right if every sacrifice demanded more sacrifice. What choice would you make? Call to action. If this story made you think, feel, or question something deeper, share your thoughts. Do you believe love can survive anything? Or do you think knowing when to walk away is its own kind of courage?